What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be doing a battle between two very popular Spyderco knives, and those are the Spyderco Domino. This is the blue laminate carbon fiber version. There's also the original black and red laminate carbon fiber version, and the Spyderco Manix 2. Now this is the plain DLC coded S30V version of the Manix 2. I have to point this out before we start the video. The scales are not stock on this guy. I have put the Flytanium copper scales on there. I've also changed out the pocket clip to the MXG deep carry clip. So I wanted to point that out right off the bat. I do have the original clip and what's left of the original G10 scales, which I broke for demonstrational purposes on another video. But I'll sort of, talk about that when weight and things like that come up in this battle video. So the Domino is not my knife. It was generously lent to me by my buddy Jake. You can check him out on Instagram at Jake's Knives. Thank you so much, Jake, again. So when he sent me the Domino, it was the first time I'd ever handled one. And after handling it, I realized, oh my gosh, this is a shorter flipper frame lock Manix 2 on bearings. That's what this is. And I found that I really, really liked it. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know how much I love the Manix 2. So I love the Domino, definitely. I really like both of these knives. If you haven't checked that review out, feel free to go check it out. But I just thought, hey, this might make a good battle/comparison. If you're new to my channel, what I like to do are laid-back knife reviews, knife overviews. I don't take myself too seriously. I also like to do unboxings. I like to do battles like you're watching here. And I like to do weird top 5 and top 10 stuff on the weekends, usually Saturdays. So if you're a knife enthusiast of any type, user, collector, whatever, and you like a channel that has regular uploads, usually at least one a day, then feel free to subscribe to my channel because I think you'll have a lot of fun here. Anyways, when we do these battles, I've got 3 categories, and each category has subcategories. I've got my cheat sheet off to the side, but instead of just writing a new one every time, I just kind of use one of the same ones and I just draw on it. So the first category that we're going to be talking about is going to be functional. Within functional, we have blade, grind, and performance, or potential for performance, usable cutting edge, blade options, deployment, ergonomics, durability, ease of carry, weight, ease of disassembly, and warranty. Weight's in there. That's why I wanted to bring up the thing about the scales. We'll talk about that. Non-functional categories, the non-functional category, which some of this is based on opinion. We'll talk about that. I promise I'll be fair. Aesthetics is a subcategory. Fit and finish is a subcategory. And customization, or potential for customization, is also a subcategory. The final category is value, which is just price and basically the materials that you get for the price. So we're going to be talking about all of that today. I think this is going to be really fun. I think these two are going to make an excellent battle. So anyways, let's talk about blade performance, or the grind and the potential for performance. Both of these knives have the symbolic it's almost like a flagship blade shape from Spyderco. It's the leaf-shaped blade. They're both actually designed by Eric Glesser. You can see the E insignia on the blade. Both of them are ground very similar. In fact, the starting thickness is the same. There is a couple of, in terms of overall length, there's a little bit of difference there, but the cutting edges are even the same. So truthfully, that's going to be a tie. They're both going to be about the same. And the next one, right next, I just said it, usable edge. They actually both have a 3-inch cutting edge. And I'll go ahead and measure that on camera so you can see. 3 inches there on the cutting edge. 3 inches on that cutting edge as well. So despite the Manix 2 actually having a longer blade, these two have an identical cutting edge. So that's also going to be a tie. Let me go ahead and mark that for myself here. These battles are 100% organic. I don't think about this beforehand. I don't, have any premeditation about the battle. I like to come, I have my experience with both knives, But coming into this and thinking about each category and talking about it is 100% organic, and that way it's fair. Or at least you'll have to take my word that that's the case, because you're just viewing this through a rectangle right now. You have no idea what went on beforehand, but truthfully, that's how I like to do these. Anyways, next category or subcategory, we have blade options. Both knives only have one option. It's the leaf-shaped blade. So again, that's going to be a tie. Next up, deployment. Both knives have the Spyderco thumb hole. So you can do the reverse flick on the Manix, you can do the thumb flick on the Manix, and technically you can pull back on the cage here and you can kind of whip it out. Now, I'll tell you why I'm not going to count that one. I wanted to talk about it because a lot of you are going to be like, hey, you know, you can whip that thing out with the cage. I don't think Eric Glesser designed the cage as being a second means of deployment. I think because of its design, you can deploy it that way, but 99% of people are going to deploy it the way that it's most convenient, which is the thumb hole, and that's how it was designed to be open. So technically, in my opinion, the Manix 2 has one means of deployment. The Spyderco Domino has both a flipper tab and the thumb hole. So it deploys readily, flipped, thumb flicked, and reverse flicked. And honestly, it deploys a little bit smoother because this is a detent setup and not a ball bearing riding or creating friction against the smooth part of the tang of the blade. So because you have that detent, the knife just kind of wants to deploy. I mean, it's very organic. Not only does it have officially two designed means of deployment, it actually deploys a little bit easier. So I'm definitely going to give deployment to the Domino. Next up, we have ergonomics. Another reason that it's like I talked about. I mean, the Domino to me just is a shorter flipper frame lock version of the Manix. The ergonomics between the two, I mean, the Manix has a bigger handle, but I mean, look at the lines here. The ergonomics are the same. The only difference is that the Manix handle is just longer. I'm a huge fan of the forward choil, the thumb ramp, just how the knife fits in your hand in general. Both ergonomic setups are excellent, and honestly, it's going to be a tie there. I'm not going to say, some people are going to say, well, there's a benefit to having a longer handle, or there's a benefit to having a shorter handle. Yeah, we could make this one subcategory super long, but most of you are going to leave if I do that for every category. So truthfully, no, I think ergonomics is going to be a tie. We'll go ahead and mark that there. Durability. So, if by now you haven't guessed, I'm comparing the Manix, the version of the Manix I'm comparing with the Domino is the G10 version. I know you guys are going to want me to bring up the FRN version and all the different, that I'm going to have to compare weight and blah, blah, blah with that. No, we're comparing the G10, the standard G10 Manix 2 versus the Domino, standard Domino. Which has the carbon fiber and the CTS XHP. So I want you guys to keep that in mind when we talk about this. So durability between the two, you've got a titanium frame lock with a piece of laminate carbon fiber and G10 underneath, and then you have on the standard Manix 2, you'll have to imagine with me with these broken pieces of G10, you've got G10 on top of a steel liner, which actually is still in there. And then same thing on the other side. Now, titanium is lighter than steel, very strong. Carbon fiber laminate with G10, I imagine, is about the same strength as G10. Honestly, between the two, I don't know that it makes any sense to start splitting hairs and talking about which would be more durable in what situation. They're both plenty durable. In fact, I would say they're both equally durable in the sense of what you would reasonably ask of a folding knife. So again, that's going to be a tie. Ease of carry. Okay, so here's where the size of the Manix is actually going to hurt it a little bit. Between these two knives, both in the folded position and just how much the knife takes up in terms of length. I guess length and height is what I'm talking about here. The Domino, even including the flipper tab, actually takes up less space in the pocket than the Manix, and it also, I'm not going to say that it carries better, But I don't know, it kind of does though. The position of that clip I mean, here's the original clip on the Manix. The awkward size and height of the Manix when it's folded up causes it to carry a little bit funky in the pocket. And those of you who have a Manix, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's fine, but the Domino definitely carries easier, and it's smaller, and it's just is a more compact knife. Now, the Manix, well, we're going to talk about that in weight, but the Manix is just a knife that doesn't, I mean, it carries just fine. It just doesn't quite carry as nice as the Domino. The Domino is just an easier to carry knife all the way around. They carry about the same in terms of how much of the knife is sticking out of your pocket. Again, you'll have to imagine that with the original clip there. We'll go ahead and just set that on there so you guys can see if I can do this with one hand. The Manix is just going to carry about the same in terms of how deep it is in your pocket as the Domino, but it's just a bigger footprint, So ease of carry is definitely going to go to the Domino. Weight, very next category. That's what I wanted to tie in with ease of carry. So the Manix 2, I'm not going to weigh that because copper weighs a ton. But the official weight of the standard G10 Manix is about 5 ounces. Now, if you're going with the Blurple S110V version, which is G10 and milled outliners, and a lot of like the Sprints, like the DLT exclusive 20CV version, and I think the M4 versions as well, those weigh like 4.5, 4.75 ounces. Actually, I think it's 4.4 ounces is what those weigh. So if we're comparing this, those two weights, I guess, is what we're going to keep in mind. The FRN versions of this knife are not being compared with the Domino. So I'm not going to take those into consideration here. The weight on the Domino is also substantially less than both, not substantially less than the one that's milled out, but it is substantially less than the full steel liner version of it. So either way, though, weight is still going to go to the Domino. And those of you who have watched my battles in the past, you're like, hey, you've scored knives a tie, for being under a half an ounce difference, and you said it's a negligible difference. It is, but when I'm also comparing, a lot of people, the version of the knife that's the most readily available and the least expensive for the ones that we're considering is the standard G10 Manix, which is the satin version and the DLC version. That's the version that has the full liners. So I have to assume that's the one that's in, in terms of the Manix 2, that's the one that's in the most pockets. So I have to take into consideration that 5 ounces of weight when I'm comparing the two. So that's why I'm giving weight to the Domino. Ease of disassembly. That's going to be an easy one. The Manix sucks to take apart. I hate taking the Manix apart. I love the Manix, but man, that freaking ball bearing in the cage, if you've never done it before, I did a disassembly to put these scales on. You got to scissor these apart, and you got to wiggle this to get it off the lanyard tube. And then if you're really unfortunate and you're not just changing out the front and back scale and you got to get in there to clean it, then you got to pull the cage out. You got to pull that little coil spring out. There's a ball bearing that'll go flying off. It'll go down a vent in your house, and it just sucks. I hate it. It's possible, but I hate it. And on top of that, you've got this freaking backspacer thing. But this is a simple frame lock. Pivot, some screws back here, the standoffs. This is an easy thing. The screws are going to go right into the standoffs. You might have a situation where you got to do that. You start to unscrew this, and then you start to unscrew that one, and it makes the standoff spin. So you got to put a bit back in, and you got to mess with that. That's nothing compared to the torment you're going to go through taking apart the Manix 2. Easy. Even with the bearings and the pivot of the Domino, easy disassembly on the Domino. That one's also going to go to Domino. Warranty, they're both Spydercos. Yeah, one's from Taichung, Taiwan, and one's from Golden, Colorado. The warranties are the same. As far as I know, there's no difference in the warranty between the Taiwan version of the knives and the American version of the knives. Though, if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments section. I have to assume they're the same. Also, this is a topic that's been argued about a little bit on my channel in the comments section. People are asking me, hey, does it void your warranty if you take the knife apart? Because I heard that it does. So this all came up from, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 years back. Spyderco was using red Loctite, I think, in a lot of their models, and it created a problem. So when you went to disassemble things, you know, the screws would strip and it would mess things up and it would create havoc with the warranties. Nick Shabazz talked about this a lot. Now, they have since stopped using red Loctite, but then they still had the thing about if you disassemble your knives, and by the way, I didn't mention this, I think it was officially that if you disassembled your knife back then, your Spyderco knife, it would void the warranty. Now, I don't know this 100%, but rumor is that they've eased up on that. It's still kind of spelled out that way, but from what I understand, if you not only do you not have to deal with red Loctite anymore, you can physically disassemble your knife successfully. And now, again, I'm not speaking for warranty. I'm not a legal rep, for Spyderco. But according to what I've read and seen online, as long as you reassemble the knife correctly and it doesn't cause a failure that they would otherwise warrant, I think you're okay. So, like, if you disassemble the knife and you mess up the pivot, or you screw something up and it goes back together, and then the knife doesn't wear correctly, or some internal part messes up and causes an actual failure of the knife, well, then your disassembly caused that issue. So that would be a problem there. But I don't want to get too specific on that. That is 100% up to Spyderco as far as what their warranty does and does not cover. So please don't go tell, Metal Complex said that this would be covered. No, I don't speak for Spyderco. That's the way that I understand it. Anyways, warranty is going to be a tie. Sorry, we went on and on and on there. So let's recap functional here. Blade performance between the two. Get them back out. It's more entertaining to look at knives that are deployed than folded up. That was a tie on blade performance and grind. Usable edge was a tie. Blade options was a tie. Deployment went to the Domino. Ergonomics was a tie. Durability was a tie. Ease of carry went to the Domino. Weight went to the Domino. Ease of disassembly went to the Domino. And warranty was a tie. So right now the Domino is winning 4-0 in functional. I hate to say it, but I mean, like, when I break it down like this, like, at first glance I'm like, well, I love both knives, but when you break it down like this in functional, like, maybe some of you will disagree with me, but man, the Domino functionally is an incredible knife. Non-functional is the next category. The first subcategory is going to be aesthetics. Now, this is 100% opinion based. Some people are going to disagree with me. I think all Spyderco knives are ugly. They're the pugs of the knife world. Somebody said Frankie and Bird would get mad at me for saying that. I like pugs. I like pugs because they're ugly. And that's kind of how I feel about Spyderco knives. But they're ugly because Eric and Sal Glesser oftentimes will decide on the ergonomic design first, and then that yields the aesthetics of it, the final aesthetics. So they're more concerned with how it functions in your hand. So they're both ugly, but honestly, just because there's less handle on the Domino, and it's not quite as tall and kind of crazy and wavy down here, I think the Domino's got a better looking silhouette. Now, I wouldn't like specifically go after blue carbon fiber or red carbon fiber. I'm kind of a plain, either monochromatic, or I like black G10 with a satin blade. But even still, I think the Domino's got the Manix 2 beat in aesthetics. So I'm going to score it that way, but again, you don't have to take that into consideration in the final score. Not that, at this point it's really going to matter, but I do have some more points to make for people considering either knife, and one of them is a big one, so stay here with me. Aesthetics, again, going to the Domino in my opinion. Fit and finish, easy category. They're both made incredibly well. I know that Tai Chung actually has, right now, believe it or not, actually has a better reputation for fit and finish, but both knives are put together unbelievably well. I mean, they're going to function really, really well. I know I've got custom scales on here, but everything's going to fit just right on both knives. You're not going to have weird gaps or anything. Spyderco is not known for messing that kind of stuff up. Whether you buy from the Golden Colorado store or the Tai Chung Taiwan plant or whatever, store plant, whatever you want to call it. Fit and finish is a tie. Potential for customization. Now, both models have been around for a long time, but I literally, the aftermarket is littered with parts for the Manix 2. I mean, you can literally change out anything on the Manix 2. Now, I imagine there's no shortage of parts available for the Domino. And a lot of the stuff is going to be interchangeable. Well, one of the things is going to be interchangeable. That's going to be the pocket clip. They both use the same pocket clip. You can see there. This is the one that comes on the Domino, and there's the one that comes on the Manix. It's the same clip, except one's got a black spider and one's got a white spider. Actually, you know what? Are they a little bit different? One of them's longer. I had my thumb covering this up. I just assumed they were exactly the same. The Domino's clip is a little bit longer, but I think the position of the screw holes is exactly the same between both. Let me take a look here. Yeah, it looks to be the same. Now, I don't know about the threads, but the position of the screw holes is the same. The Domino just has a longer clip. Anyways, many of those clips are going to be interchangeable. You just have to consider the screw size, which might actually be a little bit different. But honestly, I think, it's probably close, but I think the Manix 2 is more customizable. There's also more parts on the Manix 2 that are able to be customized, like the lanyard barrel, the backspacer thing, the pocket clip. There's even like weird custom cages out there I've seen, different colors of plastic, and then all the screws, things like that. I imagine even probably the liners. You're more limited on the Domino. Again, this is a category that has nothing to do with function, so I am going to give customization to the Manix. Okay, now the last category is going to be value, and that's the price you pay and the materials that you pay for. This is a big one. The Manix 2 is one of the best knives in terms of value on the planet. And we're talking about the standard version in G10. That's S30V and black G10. And I think it still runs $115. Now, you're getting an American-made knife in premium S30V powder steel, G10, which has proven to be strong. If you watch my video where I attempt to break it and succeed, it is very, very strong. And then, did I say backed up by steel liners? Extremely functional, extremely ergonomic, an extremely useful tool for an extremely reasonable price. Many would argue that no one would ever need more of a knife than a Manix 2. And if somebody's saying that to me, I'd say you may not be wrong. You might be right. I have a video on diminishing returns. I invite you to check that out too. I kind of talk about that a little bit. The Domino, you get titanium, you get bearings, you get CTS XHP, which many people will say is preferable over S30V. Once you get up into premium steels, these powder steels, it's a multi-directional teeter-totter, meaning one blade might favor strength or toughness and edge retention. The other one might favor abrasion resistance and corrosion resistance. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but what I'm saying is it's just a big trade-off system. There's not one steel that has everything, that's better at everything. You have to pull something out if you want to put something in, so to speak. So, in my opinion, S30V and CTS XHP are very, very close. I honestly like CTS XHP a little bit better, but that's not going to be, it's going to be a marginal difference. It's going to be an opinion-based thing for a lot of people. It depends on what you're using your knife for. So really, in the Domino, you're paying more for the fact that it is a flipper frame lock on bearings. Functionally, does that give you an advantage? Not really. It's more about fidget factor and, just the enjoyment that, I honestly like titanium frame locks more, but the Domino is $215. It's $100 more. Do I feel like I'm getting $100 more of a knife in the Domino than the Manix? No. I enjoy the fidget factor. I enjoy the way that it fits in my pocket and my hand. I think the design of the Domino is probably better than the Manix 2. It makes more sense, I guess, as an EDC pocket knife. But it doesn't make $100 more sense. Value, in my opinion, far and away goes to the Manix. Now, I could beat that category into the ground and keep talking and talking and talking. And also, by the way, the Domino, if I didn't mention, it's not made in the USA. It's made in Taiwan. I touched on this on my my review of the Domino is that I was like, ew, the price is a little bit high for something that's made in Taiwan. Despite it being made incredibly well, it's still a little bit high. But even if the Domino was 175 bucks, I'd still say value went to the Manix. The Manix is just one of the best value knives out there. It's really hard to beat it. So value is going to go to the Manix, definitely. So we're at 25 minutes now, guys, and I just... You know, I don't always plan for these to be that long, but I talk a lot, and some of you are entertained by it, and some of you, I'm sure, are ready to leave or maybe left a long time ago. But the final results of this are that functional far and away, that whole category, all the subcategories went to the Domino. It's 4-0 there in functional. The Manix, the only things the Manix won are the potential for customization and value. But value's a big category. You know, you have to ask yourself, do I need all of that extra stuff, all of those extra subcategories that the Domino won? The deployment category, the ease of carry category, weight marginally, and ease of disassembly. A lot of that might be important to you. Maybe that extra $100 that you pay for the Domino is worth it, you know, or you can equate that to those 4 categories. If those 4 categories are more important to you than anything else that I talked about, and they're worth that extra $100 you pay, then you're going to be really, really happy with the Domino. On the other hand, though, if some of those, or maybe one or more of those, is not as important to you, and you're really looking at like, how much knife can I get for the money? Like I said, it's really, really difficult to beat the Manix 2 in terms of value. And on top of that, let me stress this. This is still an incredibly functional design. It has one-handed manipulation, no problem. It's not quite as smooth as the Domino, but it's all there. This is easy to manipulate with one hand. It's incredibly ergonomic. It's got, I mean, the Manix 2 is more similar to Rick Hinderer knives ergonomics than anything else that I've ever handled, and I love Rick Hinderer knives, so I love the Manix. It's an excellent knife, but you have to ask yourself, as far as this battle goes, the winner, the clear winner, is the Domino in terms of how many categories it won. But this battle and what's important about the battle is going to be different for every single person. So I urge you to really consider the value category, because that's where the Manix 2 is hanging on. That's where some would argue that these are tied, you know. So anyways, that's pretty much it for today's battle video, guys. Sorry it ran on so long, but in any case, I hope this was at least entertaining to you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel, because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.